At that time, all the Chinese people, they started buying their first car. And you may know it or not, but there with a lot of people. So that's a really booming market. And from then on, the growth was really incredible. So when we started, we produced 30,000 transmissions per year. Now, 10 years later, 1,000 transmissions per month. We also have now more than one product, but I will explain that later. And the growth you can also see with the number of employees. Just after the crisis in 2009, we were with 130 people. This year, we'll hope to land with 700 people. But for that, we still need to fill 66 vacancies. So if any of you is looking for a new job, just come to me after the presentation, and I'll give you a new job. If you're good enough. By 2020, we want to end up with 1,200 employees. So that's also with the number of employees, the tenfold within 10 years. The automotive landscape has many different powertrains, ranging from conventional combustion engines all the way to full electric vehicles. And Push Powertrains provides multiple solutions to accommodate all these different types. Our transmissions can be used in a conventional car all the way up to a full hybrid. We also develop electric hybrids that can be used from mild hybrid to a range extent. Currently, we have an application product, so that's the design customer to go into production for the plug-in hybrids. Our electric drives, they can be used in an electric vehicle, of course, but if you use it in a truck. For the electric range, we have a single-speed transmission, we also have a twin-speed transmission, and we even have a transmission where you can use two motors and combine them in one single-speed transmission. We also do some research on flywheel-based transmissions. That's to be cost-effective because the batteries are still very expensive, and if you can store the energy in mechanical speed, that's more cost-effective than a battery. Now I would like to show you the project from which I will be presenting the results today. It's a European Union-funded project called ARMEVA that stands for Advanced Relentless Motors for Electric Vehicle Applications. It has partners from all over Europe, and we've been working together quite intensively. And the goal of the project is to develop a new generation of wave-free electric motors, but it means no magnets, based on magnetic reluctance. The content of this project is to develop a complete surprise system. That means a motor, power electronics, and controls. To be competitive in the future, the focus lies on an increase in power density and an increase in efficiency. And to reduce the cost, we integrated the motor and the power electronics within the transmission. In the past, we had a transmission, we put the motor to it, and then next to that, we had a casing for the power electronics. In this project, we integrated everything into one package. Now, why would the European Union be interested in funding a project like this? Well, that is because with the outcome of this project, we can build electric cars at a lower cost with an increased efficiency. You may know a famous Californian company producing EV cars. Well, I see the gentleman smiling. That's like a high-end iPhone on wheels. It's not yet affordable for everyone. What we try to do is build Android on wheels, so the OEMs can integrate our systems into more affordable cars. And that will lead to more electric vehicles, which is good for everybody. Now, developing an electric powertrain, how do you start on it? Well, this is the design workflow that we have used for this project. First of all, we start with the vehicle requirements. For that, we build a high-level model. That model can be further refined to determine the e-drive requirements. And the step after that was that we simulated 3 different motor types to determine the best one. These motor models were used to do the electromagnetic design, but also to help the other partners to design within their own domain. One example is that we have simulated the main cost drivers of the final product. And for that we did a sensitivity analysis of the switching frequency. So we used the model of the complete system to determine how low we could go with switching frequency that results in cheaper IGBTs. So we have designed 3 different reluctance motors. A reluctance motor is part of the family of the synchronous machines. And these 3 motors were designed by 3 different partners in the project. In the end, the 3 models had to come together because when we were building a prototype, we only wanted to build one. It would not be feasible to build prototypes in cars with the 3 types. In comparison, we did based on cost, efficiency over drive cycle, and noise. So to be able to do a fair comparison, we needed the simulation models in quite a high detail. Because for the cost, you need to know all the components, the sizing of all the components, so as well as mechanical as electrical. To be able to calculate the efficiency over drive cycle, you need to know the losses in detail of the different losses. And as you can then apply back to your vehicle model. For the noise and the vibrations, you need to simulate the forces that result from the control strategies and mechanical design. In the end, it was the switch reluctance motor that had the highest overall score. Is there anybody in the room that knows how the switch reluctance motor works? One guy. You can explain. So a switch reluctance motor is characterized by its double salient structure. That means it has discrete rotor poles and stator poles. It's driven by a reluctance torque. What that is, you can compare to an electromagnet. So if you energize the coils on the stator, you generate a magnetic field, and the torque is then produced by the tendency of the rotor to move towards the position where you have the smallest air gap. All the benefits from this motor result from the fact that the rotor is just a simple block of laminates of steel. The high-speed capabilities, the rotor construction, the low cost. Now you might think, why is not everybody using a switch reluctance motor now? Well, that's because due to the physical properties, it has quite a high torque ripple, and also the noise that it generates is really not pleasant if you don't counter it. If you have to solve these problems with really high non-linear behavior of the motor, you get quite a challenging job in designing the controls and the power electronics for the motor. The sound you just heard is from the first generation of these motors. You might be able to stand it for 10 seconds, but if you're on the highway, you really don't want this in your ear plugging all the time. I would love to show you also the sound that the ARMEVA motor produces, but it's so quiet it wouldn't make any sense to show it here. Next, I would like to translate these challenges that are inherited from an SR motor and apply them to the challenge we had within this project. Within this project, we decided to double the maximum speed up to 20,000 RPM. That means we had less time to put the current in the coil within the optimal time frame, and to counter that, we had to reduce the inductance. In the end, we ended up with an inductance that leads to a current rise time of 8,000 amps per millisecond. That means that in your software or your hardware, you have a delay of 1 microsecond, you already get an error of 8 amps. In the previous designs, we always used a processor, and even with the simplest control strategy, so normally resistance control, we just measure the current. If it goes above a certain limit, you switch to IGBT. That simple piece of software already takes 14 microseconds. If we would use that in the Armeva motor, we would get an error of more than 100 amps, which is just not usable since the maximum current rating is 450 amps. And that was not the only challenge we had in Armeva. We also wanted to use new innovative control strategies like direct torque control. And there, within one time step, you have to take the current in one phase, combine it with the position of the rotor, do that in a lookup table, and you get the torque that phase is producing. That you have to do 3 times in parallel for the 3 different phases. And then calculate the optimal switching strategy. Now, I don't know if everybody completely understood what I just tried to explain, but I think you can imagine it's just not going to work if we would use a processor from the past. Therefore, we decided to use an SoC device. That's a processor that's glued together with an FPGA. We're choosing the same device, and that leaves us one more challenge. Stefan explained to you just before the break how the workflow works to generate code for the FPGA and the processor. The principle is you just design your control strategies within Logic. And the part for the processor you can compile. The part for the FPGA, you first need to set all the data types correct. That's done by a tool called the fixed point workflow. That tool really takes you by the hand. It runs based on the simulations that you run. It gives you a proposal for the data types. You can accept them, rerun your simulation, and validate accuracy. You might need to do some small modifications, but the starting point is already quite good. The next step is if you generate code for the processor that's with an embedded code. The FPGA is not with HDR coder. And finally, for the FPGA, you need to use a tool called Vivado to generate the stream. Now I would like to share with you the experience of a first-time SoC user, such as myself. From the past, we had a big part of the control models already available for the processor, and I found it really easy to make the modifications for the new architecture. We just took some blocks and put them in the processor path, and the other blocks we use for the FPGA part. I was also very amazed by the AXI-Bus. That is a communication protocol between the FPGA and the processor. It really works out of the box, and it's really fast and reliable, so you can transfer a lot of communication, a lot of data between the processor and the FPGA. I was also surprised that something that's very standard within automotive was not available out of the box. To come with us, we had to develop our own drivers. We didn't really have time, so we asked the Motors consultancy, and they implemented it very quick. So the ecosystem is not complete yet, but it's growing as we speak. The fixed point workflow, which I just told you about, is very straightforward, but it still does consume quite some time. I think you can compare it to the way we program processors, the transformation we've seen over the last 10 years. 10 years ago, it also took quite some time if you made embedded software to get all the data types correct. And these days, the processors, they just run in a floating point, so you take a model, you compile it, and it works. I hope that within the next 10 years, we can see the same transition for FPGAs. We just work on a control strategy and a compiler as the rest, but we're not there yet. So Vivado is a really powerful tool to generate the bitstream. It does all the routing in FPGAs, really fancy, but we didn't really open the program. The only thing we had to do is install it, we paid the bill, and everything works just behind the scenes. My next slide is about how we did the validation. So in the beginning, I showed you how we handled the design. Now I would like to show you how we did the validation. And how the power and development workflow made it very easy because we did a lot of reusing of existing models. When you design your control strategies in a model-based design way, then actually you've already built your own model. So that's when you get for free. The next step we did was to test the communication protocols in real life, so with real hardware. Our final hardware was not yet available, but the Sync platform, they had some evaluation boards on the hill, so that we could just test on our own desk to validate the communication. The next step is to go to the hill. That was also quite fast implemented the hill model, because we had it still available from the previous generations, and we could combine all the new things from the models we produced when we were defining the requirements. So the combination of those two gave us a very fast hill model. At first, we also used the hill with the development board, because the final hardware was still being produced by the other partner. And due to the fact that we could already do a really in-depth validation of the software, we needed a very short time when the final hardware was produced on the hill to validate it before we could go to the test bench. It's a similar story as Fintech told you before the break. The fact that we had a thorough validation before we go to the test bench also gives the advantage that you don't blow up too many prototypes when you're at the test bench, because that really delays your project and it costs a lot of money. The current status of the project is that we are, since last Friday, we are finally producing torque on the test bench, and in the coming weeks we'll do BMW the honor of improving their i3 with a brand new Armeva powertrain. And finally, I would like to share with you the result of the project. In the back, the other parts which I'm not allowed to show you from our IP director. That's the motor, covered with its cooling jacket, and nicely around that, we have wrapped the capacitor, the power electronics, and the rest of the electronics with software. So everything is inside this package. On this platform, we have developed 4 different control strategies, but only 2 people in 1.5 years. That would have never been feasible without the current state of the tool chain. If we would have done this project 5 years ago, it just wouldn't work. Definitely not without the FPGA experts. All the models that have been produced for this A-sample phase, so the prototyping phase, we don't need to throw them away after this phase. We can reuse them to go all the way into production. So that's the part that's the comic thing, is you can reuse the same models and implement them on different targets. Due to this development progress of reusing already validated models, we had a very smooth integration and validation phase. Like the fact that I showed you, we could validate software even before the following products were available. This very fast development cycle is also very important for the other projects within Bunch. As I showed you in the beginning, we are growing like crazy. We have a lot of new colleagues that have to implement a lot of new products. The Chinese market is also very strict on the time to market, and the quality always has to be better. The shocks that you could feel in old cars, they just don't accept it anymore. I have a good example of this time to market, because last year the Chinese government, they decided the fleet average consumption of every OEM has to be within a certain target by 2018, and that's not a lot of time. If the OEMs don't meet that target, they might lose their license to produce cars. And the target is very strict, so they cannot make it without hybrid or electric vehicles. So the Chinese OEMs, they all started panicking because they can make a hybrid car within only 3 years. And that's where you need this very fast development cycle. And the reuse of existing models to validate your products throughout the cycle is just a necessary tool to get the first time right approach. So I hope you enjoyed my presentation, and if you have further questions, I will be available after that. How we're going to reach our goals in the future. First, I would like to start with some key takeaways. What do you need to remember about the project? What do you need to know about us? We're the first student team ever to build such a high-performance car. We're going to compete with very best in the automobile industry, with giants in the automobile industry, Porsche, Toyota, Audi. We're going to compete in 24 hours of Le Mans, most prestigious and most important event in the world. This car is about speed, about endurance, about racing amongst the giants for 24 hours long. 24 hours pushing your machine to the limits, to the boundaries of technology. With the DRS student team, we have to first show the world what we're capable of. So we're going to the Nürburgring World Slide in Germany. This is the benchmark in the automobile industry. The bigger car companies go there and show their lap time, which is their this is the result of how good their car is. We're going to have to compete with Porsche. They have the over 35 year old electric at the name at this point, and we're going to beat them. We're going to beat established order of automobiles. So we're going to use what's not in our story. For the Lifestyle Green, you have to be on grid to start the race. Otherwise, other cars already start the race already lost before the race even started. So at points where the Lifestyle Green, you have to be there. And this enables us to help to be there in time. First, I want you to show something about where we will go to compete in the future. Come on, the famous dance of the 24-hour race. There were 45 cars and some of the world's top riders reaching the rolling battle of high speed.
Laying at the West of France in France, there is a stretch of road that is iconic in motorsport. It is a place where drivers become heroes, where their deeds echo into eternity. A race where the only limit is the clock. It is the home of the 24 Hours of Le Mans, the most prestigious motorsport event in the world. This race is about endurance, about speed, about pushing man and machine beyond the reach of anyone's imagination. Here, in this epic battle, where cars travel more than 5,000 kilometers, reaching speeds in excess of 350 kilometers per hour, the boys are separated from the men. Can you imagine a better way to prove new and groundbreaking technology? I can't.
What I'm going to tell you is something about our project. How did we get here? What cars did we build? And what did we use to create such a futuristic car? First, I'm going to introduce something about emotion, about Gio and Kate behind me. They are going to explain a little more about how we use what's up in our project. Then I'm going to tell something about our innovative challenges and achievements we encountered during this project. And last, I'm going to tell about our future goals and milestones which we want to reach at the end of this project. First, let me tell you something about the 24 Hours of Le Mans. Le Mans has different classes. That's the LP1, the King's class, where Porsche and Audi sit driving. The LP2 classes, a little bit heavier cars, still going over 400 km an hour on the track. You have the GT classes, and this is about 13,000 new class. This is the Class 56 class. This class is you can show what is possible with technology of tomorrow. You can implement new technologies. You can use everything that's possible without rules except for safety laws. And believe me, if you're going 400 km on the track, you really want to do something safe. So how did this all start?
Right at the beginning, an origin, a point where it all started. Our story began when three students, Albert, Jeroen, and Peter, decided they would turn their dream into reality. A green race car was born. Their goal was reached. But was that the end of it? The hell it was. It was just the beginning. The beginning of something bigger than the three of them. Something bigger than they would have ever dreamt about. Little did they know they set into motion a sequence of events that would eventually lead to the team that is today. A team where young, talented engineers are inspired to pursue the same dream they once had. A project with more challenging goals than ever before. Where people have innovation running through their veins. Where they are pushed beyond what they think they can do. Where the car of the future is shaped.
Now, how does the car of the future look like? This is our vision. This is our green car. This car is built for 1.5 year time from scratch to finalize this product in a race on track. This car is a little green. This car is running on bioethanol. So this is the first start of green technology you want to have on this planet to fly around, to use on the track. Now we're working to the next goal, to an electric car, which is even greener as this car. But how does it look like?
Racing. It is the passion we all share. It is what drives us. It is the engine of innovation. Today, we will show that together we can be more than we ever thought. We believe that we can drive innovation to our common passion. That racing indeed serves a purpose bigger than itself. That it is the source of better and cleaner technology. Here, today, together, we start our beautiful journey to Le Mans.
And this is the result of it. This is a Formula electric race car. This car is mainly built for two reasons. First of it is we want to show the people what we as students are capable of. We want to use this car on the tracks to drive electric vector tents. We want to go over to this circuit, this famous circuit, Speed Park Zandvoort. We want to go to the German circuit, the Speed Park Nürburgring, to show the people what we as students are capable of. We're going to compete with this car against Porsche, against Toyota, against such teams, such car manufacturers. Second reason why we build this car is because this is our development car. This is not the ending of the project, this is just the beginning of it. This car has a lot of components which we're going to use on a bigger scale in our IMO1, our Le Mans car, which I'll show you a little further in the presentation. But one thing is so innovative, but one thing also innovative about this car. We use active wings. We're using 3D printed titanium objects in our suspension. This is the first in the automobile industry of such high performance cars. We build and laminate our own motor copy, build and laminate our own wings. We have a fully electric drivetrain, which is way faster on the track than a Tesla or a Formula E, as you all know. But one thing is very special, and I really want to highlight it. Johan, could you tell something more about special ECUs? Hi, welcome. Yes, Marco, of course, again. So we developed as a partner of Emotion with the ICT Group, the ECUs and electronics for the Emotion KVMT IV. So, as Marco already indicated, this is our development platform. And currently this car is under development, and we are finishing it up for our first record prize. So what do we bring to the table as ICT? We cooperate with Emotion with our motor platform. Our motor platform is, as you have seen today already, is based on the fact that we see a shift from coding to modeling. Now, we have talked about it today in many presentations already, that the programmer of the future is actually somebody who can model behavior. So, basically what does this mean for a team like Emotion? A team like Emotion consists for a large part of mechanical engineers. Those mechanical engineers are very used to making models with MATLAB Simulink. What mechanical engineers are not used to is writing software in, for instance, MCC or in MISRA-C. So, to make it possible to control this entire car with a couple of ECUs programmed by mechanical engineers, we have created a platform that can actually do that. And does not only generate software on application level, but generates everything. How does it look? It looks like this. So, the workflow of our motor platform. You start in the top left with the Simulink model that you created to model your behavior. This model, you add to that a couple of configuration blocks and in and output blocks. These blocks are part of the motor block set, which is part of our toolbox. These blocks are made to behave, to look and feel exactly like your native Simulink blocks. You won't notice the difference between those blocks and the ones that are already a Simulink. So that basically makes it easier for developers, so for mechanical engineers, to adapt and to configure the software of their platform. And actually to configure the hardware, the inputs, the outputs, specific drivers. So in the top right, you see that with one click on a button, you would use the automatic code generation process, as you would do with a normal Simulink model. Except in this part, you don't only generate software for the application, you generate everything. It's based on an AutoSAR stack, and with one click of a button, you generate the entire stack. You generate the low-level drivers, your basic software, your application, and everything is integrated without one line of code, hand coding that's necessary. So this actually enables mechanical engineers to have the model, use the motor toolbox, and walk away with one click of a button, run this on the target. Now the target hardware, which you see in the left bottom, you use to actually run this left column. With MATLAB's external capabilities, you are able to see in the model actually what is happening when you run. So this enables you to do the hardware and the loop testing. Now this enables you to do your ground fit engineering, and with that, you have a great reduction in development time. And that looks like this. So, of modeling for testing purposes, and after that, hand coding for implementation. As you can see, this takes quite a long time, which leads to the fact that you will be finished at the grey line. If you would use your model-based development process, you will be finished at the end of the blue-green line, so the orange line in the bar. At that point, the 24 hours of Le Mans or any other race would start. So this means for a team like Emotion, they can have the car finished in time, as Marco already indicated. The car has to be ready when the lights turn green. What would it mean if you would use a process that took quite some longer time? You would be ready here. And then you would find just a stretch of empty tarmac. No spectators, no race, but too late, you already lost. So, indicating the IME that we are currently developing, what does motor control for such a car? As also indicated by Marco, we have active aerodynamics, so it's a wing flap that can move by our control system. Furthermore, it's a fully electric car, so there needs to be some energy management as well. Now, then you have the typical automotive systems like anti-lock brakes, also drive-by-wire for instance. You have the powertrain control, and in our case, last but not least, you have the human-machine interface. Every knob, every button the driver pushes will be controlled through a motor ECU. So what more makes this approach special for the Emotion car? We control our car with just a couple of ECUs. As you can see in the left, we designed the architecture for the IMO1 or the Mach car, which Marco is going to tell you some more in a couple of minutes. And this architecture consists of one central controller, combined with a couple of satellites. The central controller is a vehicle state monitor. It knows the state of the entire vehicle and does the high-level control systems of the car. The constructors that you can find on each corner are connected with sensors and actuators, and they do local level control. So they actually do the fast type of control that you would need in a race car, and after that inform the central controller of the state of the vehicle. So we took that idea, which we already designed for the Le Mans car, and we applied that to the IME that we are currently building, only because in that car the systems are a little bit limited with regards to the Le Mans car. We could do with only 3 ECUs. So if you could compare this to the amount of ECUs that you would have in a production car, which lies around 100, that means that this car can perform everything with only 3. That means a reduction in ECUs, that means a reduction in cables, it means a reduction in connectors, it means a reduction in points of failure. And points of failure is something you want to eliminate as much as possible when you're going to race for 24 hours. Because after all, you don't want to be racing for 23 hours and 58 minutes, as Toyota can tell you after the last edition of Le Mans. You want to be there for the full 24 hours in order to win. So with that, I would like to give the floor back to Marco after showing you a quick movie. Vandaag gelijk de snelste elektrische muureenhouding ter wereld. is de naam niet wat anders gebeurd en alles wat ik nu uitleg van net en ik aan van bijna aan het project. Nou, dat is gewoon heel graag en dat doen we steeds doen.
Ja, deel dat wat mogelijk is met de technologie van ons.
This was our first major milestone achieved with our team. So just to begin, this was a presentation of a carbon cooling drive. There were over 500 people in the building, and there couldn't be more people around at this moment. And now we're building a carbon sector drive. We're going to do the shakedown next month, and this will be the first time the car will be ready. So you can imagine that we formalized and created this car in only 8 months in the first time. Now we have this ready in less than a year to be ready and operated. And now we're going to do this. We wanted to drive the electric vehicle this year in August, so we have less than 8 weeks time to create our first test drive towards the final drive, which can drive 285 km/h on track. And after that, we're going to create a bigger and higher spec battery package, which is going to help us to drive the electric vehicle in the Nürburgring, which is over 20 km long instead of 4.3 km long. But what kind of competitors are we against? What kind of teams do we drive against? And who have already done this at this moment? So at first, we have which is currently held the currently holder of the electric record at Nürburgring, and this is Toyota. Toyota has over 250 professional full-time employees. For our students, just have 50 students who are working on a project. 50 students for different studies who are creating a car of the future. What amazing. Next competitor we have is Porsche. Porsche has the current record of the all-time test record, which Stefan Bellot in 1983. They have Porsche is the biggest car manufacturer in the world, and we are competing with such giants, and we're going to beat them. After that, we're going to the 24 hours of Le Mans. Nissan has driven the 24 hours of Le Mans in the Garage 56. But the difference with Nissan, that's the same way we want to compete the same thing. We want to drive complete 24 hours. They have over 200 professional full-time employees, they have over 30 years of experience, and they have a lot of more funding. And we're going to do it everything less, but we are going to do this as a couple of students. So which kind of car can we compete in such races, in such cars? This is the Idle One. This is a interesting looking car, and this car will be 10 times aerodynamic as the one single seater at same speed. This car can travel so fast through a corner that the driver will actually fade out while he's moving through the corner at full speed. We're going to use special cycles. We're going to use active wings, active flaps to stabilize the car. We're going to build a monocoque which is the shape of a which is the most aerodynamic shape in the world. And we're going to use a fan system which is going to suck our car onto the road and hold speed tight to create really high aerodynamic space. This is all possible because we're set free of rules except for safety ones. This wouldn't be possible, I wouldn't be standing here to work for our partners. Our partners will help us to create such futuristic things, create such special technologies, and to help us improve them. So I want to thank all these sponsors and partners for us to be part of our project and create such a big goal. And if you're really interested, you could might ask if you could be a partner as well. And we what have I told you about the project? What have I told you about why we are standing here? This is complete work of motion. So in 2016, was drive the electric vehicle attempt at Supercar Zandvoort with the first car, our fully electric race car, which can travel 285 km/h, which just weighs 650 kilograms, has 544 brake horsepower, quite a lot. After that, we go to the next year, we're going to drive the electric attempt at the Nürburgring North Side to show people what we are actually capable of, because it is the benchmark without the industry. In 2019, we're going to drive the first time with the Idle One, and we're going to beat the established order at this time, of course, to beat the all-time test record at the circuit. And then in 2020, we're going to compete in 24 hours of Le Mans. Our final goal, we want to beat the 24 hours of Le Mans to compete the endurance race. So we are students of, we're a team of students who are capable of building a car of the future. We're going to compete with the giants in the automotive industry, and we're using motor-based design to be on time on the track. We're going to use innovations for our limitless minds, because we're just students and we have all creative things of ideas, and we're going to implement more. And we're going to use that as a limitless engineering to create such a car. I'd like to thank you. Thank you for that. It's really hard to be here, and you may have gleaned a bit from my background. I'm a material scientist, I'm also an experimentalist, and so throughout my career I've kind of evolved and got more and more appreciation for what you can do with math simulation, and so the opportunity to talk to you now about a lot of things we're doing at GM and how we're using a lot of these tools to innovate and develop new technologies is pretty exciting. So before I continue, I want to acknowledge my co-authors who did a lot of the work and contributed to the talk, JT, Baram, and Yilu. What I want to do today is from a high level frame of many of the challenges that we see in the automotive industry. And by framing a challenge, I then want to convert that to some very specific problems that we've tried to address conversationally using a variety of tools, and then explain how we did that and what the results were. So the main topics that we'll go through, the first one is connected living, the next one is fuel economy of CO2, there's huge challenges there, and we'll get into aerodynamics, electric vehicles, and electric materials, then personal security and safety, and then at the end I'll comment a bit about the future and maybe tie in a bit of the autonomous challenges there as well. Alright, so connected living. The data that we show on this chart is pretty amazing. You talk about 7 billion mobile subscriptions around the world. In many countries, people have all have a cell phone. And people are connected on the internet. Look at all the connections on 1.4 billion people on Facebook. And the amount of data that's being generated, it's huge. And you may see an announcement right at the beginning to tell you to turn your cell phones on vibrate, but these cell phones are really part of our life. I'm sure all of you are going to have urge at some point during my talk here in a second, look for a message and see what's going on. And that's what we're finding with our customers as well. They want this cell phone when they come into the vehicle to be able to connect with it. They want the vehicle to go back and forth to be able to do things remotely. And it's really part of them. One of the challenges that we face here, anyone who has a cell phone realizes that they don't know how to charge very well. And the more and more you ask them to do, sometimes when you travel, you tend to lose charge. So one of the first challenges that we face is trying to make a very good connected vehicle enabled for our customers is to figure out how to help them charge the scenario. So one of the problems that we face, and the first one that I'll talk about, is wireless charging. So we want to be able to have this phone in the vehicle and charge without overheating. And what you find is that total overheating of the vehicle due to where it's set, how hot the vehicle is, really affects the performance, and people get annoyed, especially because now, sometimes people just charge you at night, they don't charge you at night, the target from the charging station. So you look at a number of different scenarios of where people could have or where they can charge their phones. And the streams that are shown here, the armrest there, the center console, vertical implementation in a bit that sometimes can be in the way. So what we did with the CSC group in my lab was look at what are the different configurations of how can we try and improve the charging situation for these phones. So the first one was to look at passive cooling. And this one setting in the armrest is how do we make sure we have the right air gap, the right configuration around that phone to enable cooling so they don't get overheated. So we use tools to develop the right air gap, how high, what the geometry of the pumps on the rubber band that's setting on, to try and optimize that cooling so we wouldn't have a overheating situation. And then the more complex problem was to look, all right, in some of these bins where we may not have that opportunity or the phone sitting flush or in direct sunlight, how can I use air from the HVAC system to try and enable some of this cooling? So we used CFD models to try and determine how I could move air from the HVAC to the storage bin or to the place where the phone is going to sit, use that air, try and optimize the cooling over the phone, and the result was we got a pretty significant improvement in charge times during extreme temperature on both ends. It increased the customer acceptance for this so that actually wireless charging had to work and allowed us to provide the first integrated dual protocol wireless charging system. So pretty exciting. And so this is something in the lab, you do the computation, you don't have to do all these configurations live, and I'm able to come up with a solution that the customer really sees. And that's what we see with a lot of these things. Historically, a lot of the modeling music, body structures and other things where the customer, maybe they feel a little bit of vibration, but they don't really see how the network performs or how other things perform. Now we're really using these tools to do things that the customer sees right away, and they really have a big impact there. Right. One of the big challenges that we're going to face in the industry is the CAFE regulations, the fuel economy CO2 regulations that we're going to see in the future. So this is an example of, in 2025, how you translate those regulations to either CO2 or fuel economy. And you can see for a mid-sized car, if you want to talk about 55 miles per gallon is where you need to get in the future. It really varies with the type of vehicle, but you can see for smaller segment cars, you might actually need over 60 miles per gallon. For trucks and SUVs, you're talking in the 30 to 40 range, so pretty significant improvements in fuel economy. So the question is, how do you get there? And you don't really get there by just doing one thing. There's a number of factors that roll in, from low roller resistance tires to lightweighting to aerodynamics to electrification. And so in all of these areas, we're using a variety of advanced tools to try and enable us to get there. So the first one I'll talk about is electrification. And I know there's been a pretty strong push over the past few years to try and extend the range of these vehicles. Tesla's been working on a vehicle that's coming out here soon, and people are committing to buy. GM's going to have the Volt. We're going to hopefully keep up the marketplace with that. And try and get this high life on the battery so that you don't have range anxiety and always worry about how far you can drive because the battery's going to run out. So one of the challenges there, again, gets back to thermal management. If these batteries run too hot, it's a safety issue. They don't charge as well. They don't have as good a life. So temperature affects performance. There's some very strong requirements that really need to be, from a cooling perspective, what the allowable temperature limit needs to be between 25 and 35 C to run these optimally. And you also want to have very small gradients across the batteries to try and make them perform to their peak ability. And excuse me, this is one of the themes that I'll talk about. In order to solve a problem like this, you've got to consider a number of factors. So electrochemistry. You need to understand how the reaction occurs, how it gives off heat, and basically how that cycles back and forth. Heat transfer, fluid flow. And you need to understand something about all the materials that are making this battery pack out of. To look at conductivity, heat capacity, all of those things. I need to comprehend all of these models and then build up a battery pack from the electrodes to the cell to a module to these cooling channels to build a whole pack. I need to comprehend all of these things. And so I can't just use one model, I need to integrate a number of models. And so this integration of multiple different models through some optimization scheme becomes a very important scheme for a lot of the problems that we're trying to solve. And so in this case, we've worked with the Department of Energy and in collaboration with a number of different suppliers, software developers, and others to come up with a tool to model how these batteries heat up and what the thermal performance is. So this gets to another theme. You find more companies can't do this stuff by themselves. Right? We've all got smaller, we have less resources. You have to collaborate across the industry. So there's going to be a number of these examples we're going to go through where you're working with multiple partners to come up with a solution and develop the tools to actually grasp these problems. So in this case, we developed a software funded by the Department of Energy that allows us to really get after how do I reduce costs, improve performance, and go after the life. So with this tool, we've seen a very significant improvement in the battery performance by looking at the cooling channels. So this is actually a comparison from the previous original Chevy Volt to the current one. Right now, what we were able to do was redesign those channels for cooling within the battery pack. And originally the design was exactly uniform cross sections, and we tended to have some hot spots and a pretty significant pressure drop as you went across there. This gives you efficiency. If I lose more pressure, we go to it. You apply that pressure, takes more energy, I don't keep my battery as efficient as possible. So by using this tool that goes all the way from electrochemistry to material properties and integrated, I'm now able to come up with a better design than we implemented on the current Volt, where I don't have as much of a gradient temperature across it and I have a lot less pressure across it. So it makes it a lot more efficient and increases the performance of that battery. One of the other ways that you go after fuel economy is aerodynamics. This is another tool that we have in our toolbox, and when you look at the future, we probably need to get something like 25 to 50 pounds of aero drag reduction on most of our vehicles in combination with all the other things that we need to do in order to meet the fuel economy requirements. The challenge here is the way that we would typically do CFD or on these aerodynamic problems is very incremental. So you have a vehicle. You try and identify where you might have a problem spot. I need to change the spoiler, I need to change the radius here, I need to change, I put it back either in the funnel or I run it in simulation and see what the results are. That takes a long time. And if you want to go fast, maybe I'll change three things. Maybe I'll change the radius, maybe I'll change the radius on the fender, but I've done three changes, and I'll run that experiment. I don't know what each individual change affected. Were there any things that worked together? And so this becomes a very long iterative process. So we've worked on developing a joint method because the CFD methods that we had in the past didn't give diagnostic information, and it's not prescriptive. You just have to make changes, it's very reactionary. So this new method allows us to combine the design information and the output from it with the CFD to tell us what should we do. And again, this is putting different models together and running it as an optimizer that can now tell me and give me a recommendation as opposed to just a result. So with this methodology, you essentially run it through a solver, and actually you can calculate the shape sensitivity of a number of different features on the vehicle, which is what you couldn't do in the past. Like I said, you had to make one change, see what it did, take another change, see what it did. And you can envision that in the future, you might be able to do this and begin to do some things in virtual reality, in other spaces where now you can really take advantage of the tools to see how is airflow, how is that behaving, real time looking at changes on the vehicle and go much faster here. So this is the kind of results we get with this analysis. I can now look at the vehicle and say, for example, all the areas that are red, these are areas that I need to push upwards to reduce drag, right? The blue areas are the areas that I want to push inward. Right? So now we have this ability to real time do the analysis and in multiple locations on the vehicle say, this is what I would do for drag. Now, the next step in something like this is to figure out how do I combine it with all the other tools that are out there as well, because I have a design community that might say, oh my gosh, you can't make that read, that thing that looks awful. So how do I combine other constraints on top of this, and now also make other changes, talk about like weighting, integrating this into other multidisciplinary optimization type things, like we do structures and others, and now you can have a very big global model that can factor in many more constraints and hopefully get you to another optimized solution. So with this one, we're currently using it for a lot of our vehicles going forward. We're using these guys, engineers and designers. We're seeing significant reduction in how much time we need to spend in the wind tunnel and CFD, and like I mentioned, trying to figure out how we integrate this with some of the larger optimization packages. Right, so now we also just lightweight materials, and all the vehicles are going to have to get lighter in the future. You have to figure out ways to make them lighter, and there's two ways that you go after this. One is you try to be as efficient as possible with all of your designs. I don't want to use more material than I need. I want to use the right gauge. I want to use the right material in the right spot, and that's what a lot of these MGOs that we're already doing are very good at. But in the future, we're likely going to need more and more alternate materials, whether that's aluminum, higher strength steel, magnesium, and elsewhere. And the way that we're trying to accelerate the development of these materials is through computational material science, multi-scale modeling. So this is an example. This is an illustrated picture of some of the things that we're trying to do. This is a program that I worked on to develop models for high temperature forming of aluminum and magnesium. And the idea is, what can I do at very low length scales to tell me something about the material properties? In this case, we were trying to understand how magnesium intersected with dislocations inside the material at very, very low length scales. Take something about that behavior, move it up to now in the grain scale and the structural scale. How does that behave? And then take it into a continuum model that we can use for forming analysis for performance, and then ultimately convert that to a vehicle. Now, we don't have the computational power to do how every atom moves within a part. It's not realistic. But the trick here becomes, what calculation do I need at each length scale to take some critical information, pass it on to that next length scale, so that I can make a better calculation at that point. And that's where we're making a lot of progress. In this case, we can do some fun experiments where you can actually link the lower length scale stuff, change the magnesium concentration, and understand on the other end, by linking it with things like technical cost models, to figure out how much would that cost. So I can make a change, see how much impact might that have on the bottom line, and make a decision about materials. So we're using this tool right now. Again, multiple tools in collaboration. Again, another one of the themes. And in this case, this is a project that's being led out of GM in this kind of buzzword in the materials community, integrated computational materials engineering. How do we do multi-scale modeling to try and develop these materials? So this is a very active project on developing the next generation of steels. And we use a lot of mathematical tools here to try and figure out during the experiments what's going on with these different materials that have different phases in them, how those phases form, as well as trying to parse a lot of the data that we have. And so this is a very powerful tool to try and push the limits and do a lot of this work virtually before we actually have to take these materials, because it's very expensive to take large sheets of steel. So if we can do this on the computer, we can really accelerate that development time. Right, so another one of the themes to talk about that's really driving a lot of the work in the industry is personal security. When you talk to a lot of our customers, that's really what they worry about, especially when you look at the demographics. More than 50% of vehicle purchases are driven by women. And when we survey and look for what is very important, it's I need to be safe, I need my family to be safe, I need to be to understand the vehicle and how to take care of me. So there's a lot of innovation we're doing there to try and improve the safety, security, and performance of the vehicle. So one of them is in the next generation of crash test dummies. So in the past, the way we've done these simulations is you have a crash model, you run the simulation, and you look at how the dummies respond, and you correlate your results with this conventional crash test dummy. The issue is that the crash test dummy, sorry about that, only gives you indirect injury measurements. So we have to look at what happens to the head based on something called the head injury criteria, which says something about how heavy it is, what the velocity of deceleration is, and then they correlate that with what the severity of the injury would be. We can measure forces, we can measure chest deflection, and some other things. But there's a lot more information that we could be able to do with these models in the future. So what we ultimately want to get to are human-like simulation tools. So how do we make the tools that we have for modeling crash and performance much more representative and increase the biofidelity? Right. So again, another theme, we do this in collaboration. This is a large industry collaboration with many of the OEMs and many suppliers and universities. It's called the Global Human Body Model Consortium. And this is really, it's ongoing, I think we're 10 years in, and there'll be another renewal of it likely coming forward next year to develop a model that enables us to much better predict what goes on in a crash event. Right. So what this is able to do is come up with a number of models that are ranging from 50% female to 95% male, and you can optimize it and do a number of models in between there that allow us to have much better information. For example, right here, this is a comparison. This is a good show my kids to make sure they always really see them. Delta passenger versus Delta passenger. So look at what are the stresses in the neck, what happens during that event. So rather than just having the loads there, now I have real data on what happens within a person. And again, this is another example where we're using StatWorks tools for the crash testing algorithm. So now, the future becomes, I can take this model, and now not just have indirect measurement of what goes on in a crash event, but instead, I can use some real data. I can look at things like, if I have a criteria based on the load, skull fracture, we were actually in some of these models able to predict what the local stresses in the brain are after a crash event. Artery injury, root fracture, lung. So if I have the good materials data for the materials in your body and failure criteria develops, I can now take these models and do a much better prediction of what's going on. And the power of this, we've actually presented some of this work at the National Conference of American Emergency Physicians in January of this year. And the idea is, how do we develop the emergency room in the future? If I know that all the load cases in an accident, and I have a better model to predict